Everything has come out in public, revealing who the third party truly is. My beloved child, stop scrolling. Something hidden is being lifted right now, and the universe did not bring you here by accident. If your heart felt a quiet pull, if your spirit whispered pay attention, this message is already speaking your name. What you are about to hear is not random, not delayed, not meant for later. This is a revelation arriving exactly on time, for you. There has been a veil around a situation that touched your emotions deeply. You felt it in your chest, in the pauses between your thoughts, in the moments when silence spoke louder than words. You sensed something wasn't aligned, but you trusted divine timing instead of forcing clarity. Now the universe honors that patience. A hidden truth is stepping into the light, not through chaos, but through undeniable clarity. This is the moment when confusion dissolves and truth stands on its own, calm and unshakable. The signs you ignored before suddenly make sense. The dots connect effortlessly. Conversations, actions, and energies that once felt confusing are now arranging themselves into a clear message. The universe is saying, you were never wrong for feeling what you felt. You were discerning. You were protected. And now, truth is no longer whispered, it is witnessed. Everything has come out in public, revealing who the third party truly is, and this revelation is not meant to hurt you, but to free you. Understand this gently. This is not about exposure for punishment, but exposure for alignment. When something hidden comes into the open, it creates space for healing, honesty, and divine order. What was once draining your spirit can no longer access your energy the same way. The universe removes masks not to shame, but to restore balance and return power to where it truly belongs, your heart, your path, your future. You may feel a wave of mixed emotions right now. Relief. Validation. A quiet ache releasing itself. Let it move through you without resistance. This revelation is proof that the universe walks ahead of you, clearing obstacles before you even arrive. Destiny is adjusting in your favor, even if it doesn't look dramatic. Sometimes the strongest miracles arrive as calm certainty. This message found you because your soul is ready for a higher level of clarity. You are not meant to carry confusion anymore. You are meant to move forward with wisdom, grace, and trust in divine timing. What was unclear is now defined. What was uncertain is now understood. And what felt heavy is about to feel lighter than it has in a long time. Stay with this message until the end, because what comes next carries guidance meant specifically for you. If this resonated with your spirit, like this video to align with the energy, share it with someone who needs clarity right now. And subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next divine message. Watch this video completely, There is purpose waiting for you here. Did you know there's a possible image of your real soulmate that you can look at right now? It might be someone you know or someone you haven't met yet. It's amazing how accurate these have been. You have to see the photo to see what I mean. Click the link in the description to get your soulmate sketch. Everything has come out in public, revealing who the third party truly is. Hear me now, not as thunder that frightens, not as fire that consumes, but as the quiet certainty that has followed you since before you learned your own name. I speak not from a distant height, but from the place where your breath is formed and your thoughts are born. What was hidden is no longer hidden, and what was whispered behind closed doors now stands in the open light. Do not rush to name it too quickly, for the truth I reveal is deeper than rumor and older than memory. Mystery unfolds slowly, the way dawn does, not by force but by inevitability. You have felt the tension, the unease, the sense that something unseen was shaping outcomes while you watched the surface of things. You wondered why paths crossed and uncrossed, why promises shifted, why clarity felt just out of reach. You sensed a presence, not of flesh and bone, but of influence, an unseen companion that sat between intention and action. This is the third party you could not fully see, the silent factor that leaned into conversations, decisions, and silence alike. Now the veil thins, and I allow you to see without fear. The third party is not a stranger from outside, nor an enemy marching toward you. It is a pattern that learned how to wear many faces. It is the echo of old wounds that pretended to be wisdom. It is the habit of doubt dressed as protection. It is the voice that said, "Wait," when love asked you to step forward, and the voice that said, "Hurry," when stillness was required. You gave it permission without knowing its name, and it learned the shape of your hopes so it could sit among them unnoticed. I tell you this not to shame you, for I do not speak in condemnation. I speak so that you may finally understand. Awareness is not punishment, it is release. When light enters a room, darkness does not argue, it simply loses its claim. So too does this third presence lose its power when you recognize it for what it is, a construct made of fear, memory, and survival, not a truth authored by me. Look carefully now at the moments you thought were coincidences. See how often hesitation arrived just before breakthrough. Notice how clarity blurred when commitment approached. Observe how distraction appeared when silence might have revealed too much. This was not fate conspiring against you. This was not betrayal by another soul. This was an internal alliance formed long ago, when you decided it was safer to guard your heart than to fully open it. That decision made sense then. It does not need to rule you now. I have watched you wrestle with questions you could not phrase aloud. I have seen you look outward for answers while the answer waited patiently within. You asked, why does this keep repeating? And why does truth feel delayed? Understand this: what repeats is not punishment, but invitation. Life repeats lessons until the learner no longer needs them. The third party thrived in repetition, because repetition feels familiar, and familiarity feels safe, even when it limits you. Now the reveal happens not with noise, but with recognition. You feel it as a quiet click inside your chest, the sound of something aligning. You realize that the obstacle was never a person, never a circumstance, never time itself. It was the agreement you made with fear to interpret the world for you. Fear promised protection, but it charged you with distance. It promised control, but it demanded sacrifice. It promised certainty, but it could never deliver peace. I am not angry that you listened to it. I am patient beyond measure. I allowed you to walk with that companion until you were strong enough to walk without it. Strength is not loud, it is steady. And now you stand at the threshold of discernment, able to see influence without being ruled by it. This is why everything comes out into the open at this moment and not before. Revelation arrives when the heart is ready to hold it without breaking. Do not misunderstand me. Revelation does not mean exposure meant to humiliate. I do not tear down for spectacle. I reveal to restore alignment. When truth steps into light, it is not to accuse, but to recalibrate. You are not being asked to relive the past, only to reinterpret it with wisdom. What once confused you can now instruct you. What once hurt you can now inform you without controlling you. The third party loses its name the moment you see it clearly. It cannot survive attention rooted in compassion. It dissolves when you choose presence over projection. That is why you feel a strange mix of relief and uncertainty right now. Relief, because something heavy is lifting. Uncertainty, because you are learning how to move without a weight you grew accustomed to carrying. Freedom often feels unfamiliar before it feels natural. I speak to those who have sensed a shift but could not explain it. I speak to those who felt watched over and yet challenged at the same time. I speak to those who suspected that truth was approaching, not as a storm, but as a clearing sky. You are not late. You are not behind. Timing is not a race, it is a rhythm, and you are finally hearing the beat. Let no one tell you that this revelation means you have failed. Growth always reveals what no longer fits. A child outgrows shoes without apology. So too do you outgrow patterns that once served you. Gratitude does not require permanence. You may thank what protected you and still release it. That is not betrayal, that is maturity. Watch now how conversations change. Notice how decisions feel simpler, even when they are not easier. Observe how your intuition sharpens when it is no longer filtered through fear. This is the fruit of awareness. This is what happens when the third party steps aside and your true self resumes its place. You are not becoming someone else, you are returning to who you were before confusion taught you to doubt your own knowing. There will be moments when the old voice tries to return, dressed in logic, urgency, or nostalgia. Do not fight it. Simply recognize it. Recognition is enough. You do not need to prove anything. You do not need to announce your clarity. Truth does not require performance. It stands on its own, quietly rearranging your life from the inside out. I am with you in this unveiling, not as an observer, but as presence itself. When you breathe, I am there. When you pause, I am there. When you choose honesty over comfort, I am there. This message reaches you not by accident, but by alignment. Something in you was ready to hear it, ready to remember, ready to see without flinching. Everything has come out in public. Yes, but understand that public does not always mean external. Sometimes the most important reveal happens in the inner court of the heart, where no crowd gathers, yet everything changes. What is seen there reshapes what appears everywhere else. Inner truth inevitably becomes outer clarity, so stand gently with what you now know. Do not rush to conclusions. Let understanding settle like dust after a long journey. You are safe to move forward without the mediator of fear. You are capable of choosing without second-guessing every step. You are allowed to trust the wisdom that rises when silence is no longer crowded, and now, as the last layers thin and the final illusion prepares to fall away. Listen closely, because there is one more aspect of this revelation that has not yet fully spoken, one more subtle truth waiting just beyond the edge of your awareness, and when it steps into view, you will realize why this moment had to unfold exactly this way, why the third party could only be revealed now, and why what comes next will require you to remain very still, very present, and very open. As I begin to show you how this unveiling is not the end of the story, but the quiet opening of a door you have stood before many times without knowing its name, a door that is already moving, slowly, inward, as you sense the shift and feel the question forming, not in words yet, but in knowing. As I draw closer and prepare to speak again, just as you are about to understand as I draw closer and prepare to speak again, understand this first. Revelation is not an event, it is a process. What you are experiencing now is the middle of the unveiling, not the conclusion. The mind longs for final answers, but the soul grows through unfolding awareness. That is why I ask you to remain present rather than impatient, receptive rather than reactive. The door opening before you does not swing wide all at once. It opens in measured movement, so that nothing within you is overwhelmed by what you are now able to see. You have been taught to expect truth to arrive dramatically, with certainty that leaves no room for doubt. But my truth often arrives gently, because gentleness lasts longer. It settles instead of shocks. It rearranges instead of destroys. The third party you now recognize was loud in subtle ways, persistent in quiet ones. It did not shout commands, it suggested conclusions. It did not force outcomes, it nudged perceptions. And because it never demanded attention, it was rarely questioned. This is how influence survives unnoticed, by feeling like your own voice. Now notice how your inner space feels different. There is more room. Silence feels fuller rather than empty. Questions no longer feel threatening, they feel alive. This is the atmosphere where discernment grows. I do not remove illusions abruptly unless the soul is ready for the sudden absence. Instead, I loosen their grip until they fall away on their own. That is what is happening now. You are not losing anything essential. You are shedding what no longer aligns. I see your concern. If this was influencing me, how many choices were truly mine? Hear me clearly, every choice carried your intention, even when filtered through fear. You are not invalidated by your past. You are informed by it. Wisdom is not the absence of mistakes, it is the integration of experience. Nothing you lived through was wasted. Every step taught you how to recognize truth when it finally stood still long enough to be seen. There is another layer to this reveal, one that requires humility rather than judgment. The third party existed not because you were weak, but because you were adapting. Survival teaches strategies before it teaches trust. You learned to anticipate disappointment before it arrived. You learned to control outcomes before uncertainty could touch you. These strategies worked, until they didn't. And when they stopped serving you, you began to feel the friction that led you here. Do not turn this awareness into self-criticism. I do not ask you to regret who you were while learning how to be. Compassion is the bridge between insight and freedom. Walk it gently. Speak to yourself with the same patience you would offer someone you love deeply, because I assure you, you are deeply loved. Watch now how your relationships shift, not because others change, but because your perception clarifies. You no longer interpret silence as rejection. You no longer mistake intensity for truth. You begin to feel when something resonates and when it merely distracts. This sensitivity is not weakness, it is refinement. It is what happens when the noise quiets enough for intuition to speak at a natural volume. You may feel moments of grief as well. Grief for time you believe was lost. Grief for versions of yourself that tried so hard with limited tools. Let that grief move through you without resistance. Grief honors growth. It acknowledges that something mattered enough to be felt deeply. I am with you in that feeling, not rushing you past it, not minimizing it, but holding it until it transforms into gratitude for what it taught you. There is a reason this revelation unfolds now and not earlier. You are no longer seeking validation from the very patterns that confined you. You are no longer asking permission to trust yourself. You are beginning to stand in your own authority, not dominance, not control, but self-honoring clarity. Authority that listens. Authority that adjusts. Authority that remains open even while grounded. Understand this. When illusions dissolve, responsibility returns to you. This can feel heavy at first. Without a third presence to blame or rely upon, you realize your power has been waiting quietly all along. Power does not shout. It does not rush. It chooses deliberately. And choice, when fully owned, can feel daunting before it feels liberating. I am not asking you to have all the answers. I am asking you to stay awake. Stay awake to what feels expansive versus what feels constricting. Stay awake to the difference between peace and numbness. Stay awake to the subtle joy that arises when alignment replaces effort. These sensations are not random, they are guidance woven into your experience. You may wonder if others will notice this change. Some will, some will not. Those who benefited from your uncertainty may feel unsettled by your clarity. Those who resonate with truth will feel drawn to your steadiness without knowing why. Do not manage their reactions. You are not responsible for how others interpret your growth. Remain kind, remain honest, remain rooted. The third party thrived on anticipation, on living ahead of the moment, replaying the past or rehearsing the future. Presence weakens it completely. When you are fully here, fear has nowhere to anchor. That is why I continually call you into now. Not because the past is unimportant or the future irrelevant, but because power only operates in the present. Listen to how your body responds now when something is misaligned. Tension speaks faster than thought. Ease arrives before explanation. These are not coincidences, they are intelligence. Trust them. You do not need to justify what you feel immediately. Understanding often follows acceptance, not the other way around. As this unveiling continues, you will notice fewer internal arguments. Decisions will still require consideration, but they will no longer drain you in the same way. You will begin to recognize when enough information is enough. Overthinking will lose its authority. Waiting will no longer feel like stagnation. but like preparation. I know part of you wants reassurance that nothing else is hidden. I tell you gently, life will always contain mystery. Mystery is not deception, it is depth. The difference now is that mystery no longer controls you. You can explore it without losing yourself. Curiosity replaces suspicion. Wonder replaces vigilance. This is where many stop listening, when the chaos quiets and the drama fades. But I ask you to lean in here, in the calm, because this is where truth whispers its most important guidance. The absence of tension is not emptiness, it is space for creation. What you choose to place here matters. You are approaching a new threshold, one that requires discernment rather than defense. Old habits may attempt to reassert themselves, especially when faced with unfamiliar peace. Do not interpret that as failure. Patterns weaken gradually. Each time you choose awareness, you loosen their roots further. Remember, I do not reveal truth to burden you with responsibility without support. I walk with you through integration. When confusion arises, pause. When doubt returns, breathe. When certainty feels distant, trust the process rather than forcing conclusions. Growth does not require urgency. There is more to be shown, not about what went wrong, but about what is now possible. The reveal of the third party was necessary so that the next chapter could be written without interference. You are not returning to an old path with new eyes, you are stepping onto a different terrain entirely, one that responds to authenticity rather than fear. As you move forward, notice what no longer attracts you. Pay attention to what feels complete without needing explanation. Completion does not always announce itself. Sometimes it arrives quietly, as a lack of interest in continuing what once consumed you. That, too, is closure. I remain here, not as a distant voice, but as the presence that steadies you when certainty wavers. You do not need to search for me. You recognize me in clarity, in peace, in the courage to remain honest with yourself. Every time you choose truth over comfort, you feel me closer, and now, as the layers continue to fall away and understanding deepens beyond words, there is a final nuance approaching your awareness, not yet formed as a thought, not yet shaped as language, but already stirring within you. This is where the next unveiling begins, not with explanation, but with experience. Stay with it. Do not rush to define it. Let it reveal itself in its own rhythm, because what comes next will require your attention, your patience, and your willingness to remain open as I continue to speak, slowly, deliberately, guiding you toward the realization that this moment is not merely about what has been revealed, but about what you are now ready to receive, as the understanding continues to unfold and the door opens further, inviting you to step closer, just as the meaning begins to form and the silence grows richer. And I prepare to show you what has always been waiting. Right as you are about to notice it now, the stillness that no longer feels empty, the quiet that no longer asks to be filled. This is where understanding matures into wisdom. You have reached a place where answers are no longer demanded, only received. I speak to you from within this stillness, not to overwhelm you with declarations, but to settle you into truth that can be lived, not merely heard. What unfolds next is not dramatic, yet it is profound, for it reshapes how you move through every moment that follows. The final truth about the third party is this: it was never meant to be defeated, only outgrown. It entered your life as a teacher disguised as an obstacle, a mirror disguised as interference. It showed you where trust had not yet taken root, where faith in yourself still wavered. And now, having served its purpose, it steps aside without conflict. There is no battle here, no victory cry, only completion. Completion is quiet. It feels like exhaling after holding your breath for too long. Understand this clearly: nothing has been taken from you. You have not lost protection, you have gained presence. You have not lost guidance, you have refined it. Where fear once translated your experience, discernment now speaks directly. You are no longer interpreting life through anticipation of harm, but through awareness of alignment. This shift changes everything, even when nothing outwardly appears to change at first. From this moment forward, you will notice that truth asks less of you. It does not require constant defense or explanation. It simply is. When something aligns, you feel it without effort. When something does not, you recognize it without anxiety. This is how clarity behaves. It does not argue, it reveals. It does not chase certainty, it rests within it. You may feel called to simplify. To release obligations that were fueled by expectation rather than meaning. To choose depth over noise, sincerity over performance. This is not withdrawal from the world, it is re-entry with intention. You are learning how to participate without losing yourself, how to engage without abandoning your center. This balance is the fruit of awareness. There will be moments when the past attempts to reclaim attention, not because it has power, but because it is familiar. Familiarity can be persuasive. When this happens, do not resist or suppress it. Simply observe it without invitation. Observation dissolves attachment. You no longer need to relive what you have already understood. I want you to know this. Trust does not mean certainty of outcome, it means confidence in your ability to respond with integrity, no matter the outcome. You have that now. You have earned it through experience, reflection, and courage. Courage is not absence of fear, it is the willingness to remain open despite it. And openness is where life meets you fully. As you move ahead, your questions will change. You will ask less about what others intend and more about what resonates. You will ask less about timing and more about alignment. You will ask less about control and more about coherence. These questions do not seek to manage life, they seek to live it. Remember that clarity does not isolate you, it connects you more authentically. When you no longer operate from guardedness, you allow genuine connection to emerge. You listen without preparing defense. You speak without masking truth. You recognize yourself in others without losing yourself to them. This is communion without confusion. I remain with you, not as a distant authority, but as the quiet assurance that steadies you when decisions approach. When you pause and feel grounded rather than pressured, that is my presence. When you choose honesty even when it is inconvenient, that is alignment. When peace arrives without explanation, that is truth settling into place. You are not required to announce your awakening. Truth does not demand witnesses. Let your life speak in its own way, through steadiness, through compassion, through discernment. Let actions be your language. Let presence be your testimony. Now hear this final integration. The reveal was never about exposing something outside of you, it was about reclaiming something within you. The authority you once outsourced to fear has returned home. The wisdom you once questioned now stands upright. You are not becoming someone new, you are inhabiting yourself fully. From here, your path unfolds not as a straight line, but as a responsive journey. You will adjust, learn, and evolve without losing center. You will encounter uncertainty without panic. You will experience change without collapse. This is resilience born of awareness, not rigidity. I leave you with this knowing: you are guided, but not controlled, supported, but not directed, loved, but not constrained. Freedom and guidance are not opposites, they are partners. When you walk in truth, guidance feels like companionship, not command, and so the message completes not with an ending, but with integration. Let what you have heard settle into how you live, how you choose, how you rest. Carry it lightly. Truth does not need to be carried heavily. It moves with you naturally when it is truly understood. Everything has come out into the light, not to expose, but to illuminate. Not to accuse, but to align. Not to end your story, but to return authorship to you. Walk forward now with steadiness. The unveiling is complete. The path is clear enough. And I am with you, in every step, in every breath, as this chapter closes and your living continues. Amen.